Why do we dream? In 2021, in a sleep lab, scientists asked a sleeping man a math question. 8 minus 6, he was fully asleep, deep in a dream, his body paralyzed, his eyes flickering under the lids, and he answered. 2, not out loud, he moved his eyes left to right, twice, a code they had agreed on before he fell asleep. They asked more questions, he kept answering. From inside the dream. For the first time in history, we had a two-way conversation with someone who wasn't there. A person awake enough to do arithmetic while simultaneously building an entire world behind his eyelids, which makes the obvious question so much stranger. What is that world actually for? Here's the thing nobody tells you. Freud was wrong. Dreams are not coded messages about your hidden desires, and that banana does not mean what your aunt says it means, but they aren't random static either, and that's the part that should bother you, because think about what dreaming actually costs. For roughly 2 hours every single night, your brain lights up almost as much as when you're awake. It burns fuel, it runs a full simulation. And it does all of this while you're lying unconscious in the dark, paralyzed and completely defenseless. Evolution does not pay a bill like that for nothing, so what is actually happening up there? During the stage where most vivid dreaming happens, REM sleep, your brain does something bizarre. It becomes intensely active, but two things get switched off. The first is your body. A signal from your brainstem paralyzes your muscles. It's called REM atonia, and it exists so you don't physically act out the chase you're running from. For a couple of hours, you are a prisoner inside your own body. The second is your judgment. The prefrontal cortex, the part of you that handles logic, self-reflection, and noticing when something is deeply weird, goes quiet. And that explains everything about how dreams feel, why you're late for an exam at a school you never attended, why your childhood dog is driving the car, why none of it strikes you as strange until the moment you wake up. The part of your brain whose entire job is to say, hang on, this is impossible, has clocked out for the night. So, a fully active brain, generating a world, with the fact-checker offline and the body locked down. That's a dream. And they aren't spread evenly across the night. Your first REM period might last 10 minutes. By the early morning, they stretch to nearly an hour, which means the longest, strangest, most cinematic dream you have is almost always the one happening right before your alarm goes off. The ones you actually remember are the finale, not the whole show. But we still haven't answered why. The first serious answer is unsettling. A researcher named Antti Revonsuo proposed that dreams are a training simulator, specifically a threat simulator. Look at what people actually dream about, not pleasant things. Study after study finds negative emotions outnumber positive ones, and the most universal dream theme on Earth across every culture is being chased. Falling, being attacked, losing your teeth, being completely unprepared. Your brain builds nightmares far more readily than it builds paradise. Revonsuo's argument is that this is the entire point. For most of human history, the ability to rehearse danger without dying was worth an enormous amount. Every night, your brain runs you through the worst-case scenario inside a perfectly safe virtual environment. A flight simulator for being hunted. Children dream about animals chasing them at far higher rates than adults do, which sounds odd until you remember what used to hunt small humans. It's a compelling theory. But it can't be the whole story, because it doesn't explain the weirdness. If dreams were purely threat rehearsal, they'd be realistic, accurate, useful practice. Instead, they're absurd. And a neuroscientist named Eric Hoel thinks the absurdity is the whole function. His idea comes from artificial intelligence, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. When you train an AI on the same data over and over, it starts to overfit. It memorizes the training set perfectly, then falls apart the moment it meets anything new. It has learned the examples instead of the pattern. The standard fix? You deliberately corrupt the data. You add noise, you distort and mangle the inputs. So, the system is forced to learn something general instead of memorizing specifics. Hole's overfitted brain hypothesis says your brain does exactly this to itself every day. You train on the same narrow data, the same commute, the same rooms, the same faces. If that's all your brain ever learned from, it would overfit to your life and get worse at handling anything unfamiliar. So, at night, it generates deliberately corrupted versions of your own experience. Your school, but wrong. Your house, but with an extra room. Your life, distorted just enough that the underlying pattern survives and the specifics don't. The strangeness isn't a bug in the dream. The strangeness is the medicine. And here's the evidence that dreaming isn't optional. In the 1960s, a researcher named William Dement tried taking it away. He watched sleeping volunteers, and every single time they slipped into REM, he woke them up. Same total sleep, just no dreaming. Within days, they were anxious, irritable, unable to concentrate. But the striking part came when he finally let them sleep normally. Their brains didn't just resume dreaming. They binged. They dove into REM faster, stayed there longer, and dreamed far more intensely than usual, as if paying off a debt. Scientists call it REM rebound. You cannot skip dreaming, take it away, and your brain will claw the time back at the first opportunity. Whatever dreams are doing, your brain treats it as non-negotiable. And there's one more job. During REM, your brain replays emotional memories, but it does it with the stress chemistry switched off. Noradrenaline, the alarm chemical, drops to the lowest point of your entire day. So, you relive the memory without the panic. Night after night, the emotional sting gets stripped away while the information stays behind. It's part of why time heals, and a lot of that healing happens while you're unconscious. Overnight therapy, and that same shutdown explains something that probably annoys you. Why you forget almost every dream within minutes of waking. Noradrenaline isn't just the alarm chemical, it also helps stamp experiences into long-term memory. Switch it off, and your brain is running the most vivid footage of your life through a camera with no memory card. The very thing that makes dreams safe to have is what makes them impossible to keep. So why do we dream? Your brain is running 3 jobs at once, inside a world it builds from scratch. 1. Rehearsal, practicing danger where nothing can actually hurt you. 2. Generalization, corrupting your own memories on purpose so you learn patterns instead of memorizing your life. 3. Repair, reprocessing what hurt you, with the alarm chemistry turned off, which brings us back to that man in the sleep lab, eyes flicking left and right, solving arithmetic from inside a world that did not exist. We used to think dreaming was the brain idling, noise, leftovers. It's the opposite. It's some of the hardest, most deliberate work your brain does all day. Building a simulator, running you through it, and quietly repairing you while you lie there in the dark. You will spend around 6 years of your life dreaming. You'll forget almost all of it by breakfast, but your brain won't. It never wasted a single night. If this made you want to pay a little more attention to what happens after you close your eyes, hit subscribe. It's the whole reason videos like this can keep happening, and drop a comment with a why question that's been living in your head. The best ones become the next video, and go on. Tell me the weirdest dream you've ever had. Don't read this, go watch it.